The Twins dropped a series to the Guardians, but how much does it really matter? A little? A lot? Somewhere in between? Is that why the Guardians claimed literally everyone on waivers? Seriously? We'll get to that, and we'll take a look ahead to the Rangers in this episode. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warner. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well, of course, as on YouTube. And also, if you are wanting to be active in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. It's, we'll try to hang out in the YouTube comments, answer your questions, and just kind of see what the temperature is of fans of the team and the show. If you have questions that you would like answered on the show, again, feel free to ask. You can tweet me. You can tweet at Locked On Twins, DMs, whatever you want. We'd be happy to hear from you. Also, we have the post-game minute after pretty much every game. You can find that on YouTube under the shorts column, but we kind of come at you for about 50 seconds and then give you a stat you won't see anywhere else. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Twins Rangers at Globe Life Field, not Globe Life Park. Easy to mistake that. On Friday, they open up a 3-game weekend set at 7:05. It's Joe Ryan versus Max Scherzer. Twins getting another crack at the Schers. Catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with Corey and Danny with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All right, news du jour, a little bit of news and how it relates to your Minnesota Twins. Andrew Stevenson has been called up. He has actually had his contract purchased, and the corresponding move is Jose Miranda to the 60-day IL with his shoulder issue that's been bothering him. It sounds as though, or at least that makes it feel like maybe his season is over. I don't have it mathed out, but he has been out for a while too. So either way, obviously not banking on him being a factor one way or the other. The rest of the year, Stevenson, if you are not aware, lefty hitter and thrower. He's playing center field for the Twins on Friday night right after his call-up. But 29 years old, has big league experience with the Nationals, 248 games spread out over 5 seasons. He's a speedy guy, only 5 steals in the major leagues. But this year with the Saints, he has stolen 44 bags. So I'm not entirely sure why he didn't steal bases in the major leagues, but has in the minors, like with Rochester last year, Nationals AAA, because he didn't play the big leagues at all. He stole 39 bases. Although, to be fair, he did steal 26 in his year at LSU in 2015. So maybe it's something he didn't have a green light on. Maybe it's something he just kind of got better at, because reading pitchers is definitely a thing. But nevertheless, he gives the Twins an element of speed. He can hang in center. And then Brent Hedrick comes up just to give the Twins a little bit of length from the left side. So going to be interesting to see how the Twins parcel out innings to him, especially with their bullpen in such a spot where decently high leverage innings are up for grabs. Alan Buznitz DFA'd by the Reds. And now I know what you're asking. Alan Buznitz, who's that? Now, he pitched for the Twins in 2017 and 2018. 2017, he was, in fact, quite good. 31 2/3 innings with a .199 ERA. Things went south at 18. And so, nevertheless, if you've forgotten about him, I understand. He's only thrown 57 innings in a Twins uniform. But he did spend some time with the Reds this year. I was surprised to see him been called up back when it happened, and he worked a few innings for them. But DFA'd, he's going to be on the chopping block. We'll see what happens there, but happy trails one way or another to the old friend. But again, I was more surprised he was in the big leagues that he was actually than that he was leaving. Another September call-up Travis Blankenhorn, may have fond or not so fond memories of his game in Oakland a couple years ago that just completely unraveled the team. Not his fault, but that game unraveled that year's team. So I should be clear about that. Absolutely mashing at Rochester. Again, Rochester, the AAA affiliate of the Nationals. I still sometimes slip up and say AAA Rochester for the Twins just because it's just so ingrained in there. But Blankenhorn had over an 850, 860 OPS in AAA. So little surprised Washington didn't have room for him prior to this just to give him a look. But he'll get September to audition or see where he lands next year as well. Josh Donaldson, released earlier by the Yankees. He was signed to a minor league deal with the Brewers and should be up within a week. It sounds as though he's back from his calf issues again. We'll see what he has left, because pretty much everything that he had hits-wise with the Yankees was a homer, and he was not hitting, I don't think, even 200. It was bad. It was real bad. But, maybe they catch lightning in a bottle for a month here, and he helps on the path to the playoffs. We'll see. And then finally, Pedro Grifol will be returning as manager of the White Sox, says Chris Getz, their new head man baseball-wise in operations. Getz, you may remember as the second baseman for the Royals a while back, but he's been in the White Sox system, working his way up to a job like this for quite some time. Certainly some consternation about the fact that the White Sox stayed within, based on just how much of a mess this front office has been previously. In fact, it sounded as though Rick Hahn attempted to resign on at least one occasion and was told he couldn't. So we'll see what happens, but they're going to run it back with a team that had some severe flaws and had some bad luck. We thought it'd be a 3-horse race in the Central. Technically, if you want to call it a 1-horse race or a 3-horse race, both would fly, but it's definitely not a 2-team race, because the Tigers aren't far enough back of the Guardians for us to really dismiss them quite yet. Either way, though, that just goes to show that the White Sox, dropped the ball in more ways than one this season. All right, we'll dive in to a recap of the Guardians series in just a second, but first, we got to give some love to our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. All right, we'll come down the pipe here a little bit. Into the bullpen. We are going to talk about the Guardians for you. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. If you haven't checked it out yet, we talked to Twins prospect and Man Mountain Carson McCusker. A wonderful interview. Really got some inside intel on how unlikely his path was to high A, which is where he is now. We'll see if he continues to move. We sure hope so. We are working on a couple different names moving forward. I know Tom Hackemer, former Twins sidearm relief prospect, who is extremely interesting to follow on Twitter, will be one of our guests coming up here. But a lot of fun stuff. And just coming down the stretch here, there's a lot to be excited about, a lot to be nervous about too, but a lot to be excited about. Twins Rangers open the series Friday at Globe Life Field. 7:05 first pitch on Friday. It's Joe Ryan making his second start, coming off the injured list, and then Max Scherzer getting his second straight crack at the Twins. And so we'll see how that goes, but you can catch every pitch of the Twins hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Twins. Now, I know what you're saying. Why are we talking about the Guardians? The Guardians left town a long time ago. Well, one thing I've observed from Twins fans this year is a hysteria after literally anything goes wrong. A missed hit and run, a 3-run inning allowed in the first inning, a loss, all of these things to various levels, I would still consider minor issues in a 162 game schedule. But for whatever reason, Twins fans are behaving like Yankee fans, where they expect the impossible, and when they don't get it, they just they blow up. So I wanted to give us some time to breathe, because Guardians take 2 of 3. They're down 5. It got as high as, or it could have been as high as 7 if the Twins sweep the series, as you'd hope. And the last 2 games were close. You can't assume a sweep or even want to assume a sweep. But the Twins really did have opportunities to either win the game coming back or just not give it away in games 2 and 3. So, I mean, if you have one of those games go the other way, do the Guardians still claim basically the entire waiver list? And I think it's a viable question, because they were numbers 1, 2, 3 on my power rankings for Twins targets. And I got into this in a brief shorts episode that you can find on YouTube and on your podcast provider just before this one, where I think it's more petty than it is pertinent that the Guardians picked up those guys. Now, in a month, those guys can do anything, good, bad, or otherwise. In fact, we've seen that with Giolito and the Angels. He wasn't particularly good. Matt Moore the last 2 weeks has been pretty bad. Reynaldo Lopez feels like the kind of guy that has like late inning stuff, but like mid inning execution. Like if you have a good bullpen, you probably want him throwing like the 6th inning. So either way, I mean, it may not mean anything. They may not, none of them, maybe all of them perform up to their level, or maybe one does and 2 don't, whatever. And that may or may not matter, because a 5-game lead is better than a 90% chance on September 1 to win the AL Central. So maybe none of it matters. But where I think the level of petty comes in is just because the odds are the Twins would have gotten at least one of those guys. 4 teams between them in the claims. So even if the claims didn't go that every team could claim every player, you still think there's probably a pretty good chance that those teams in between them claim those guys, assuming they're ranked choices. Like the Reds, for instance, maybe claimed other guys and not Bader or Renfroe. Maybe Bader and Renfroe wouldn't have been their top 2 picks. So a lot of things could have happened that would have prevented this from being any sort of issue. But with that said, I think it was petty, although I think it also might have been funny if they didn't think they were going to get all 3. And then what happened when they did, assuming they probably had to get budgetary approval, etc., from the Dolans. But yeah, I kind of found that curious. But I think it's more petty than anything. But you know what? Part of it too is, why wave the white flag? Well, 5% playoff odds, right? Better yet, though, or more importantly yet, they already waved the flag when they were down fewer games a month ago. Now, it doesn't mean you have to keep waving that flag. You don't. But you frittered away that month of August, where maybe you can make some headway, or at least not lose ground. But alas, that didn't happen. It's a chance for new life. And I know that the Guardians did not approach the deadline knowing that the Angels would do this. I suppose that was especially true at the deadline, watching the Angels do what they did. However improbable the Angels doing what they did at the deadline was, the tank and then whatever you call this waiver business is even more surprising, even more just kind of out of left field. So I'm more angry at the Angels than I would ever be at the Guardians. And you can say you're more angry at MLB than the Angels, and I won't fight you, because the MLB, or MLB, not the MLB. I hate when people say that. That rule exists, and it's up to MLB to change it, perhaps in the offseason, whatever. This is unprecedented territory. We haven't seen a situation like this really outside of like Alex Rios getting claimed from the Blue Jays by the White Sox. So honestly, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, it's hysterical that the Angels traded their very few decent prospects to get these guys and then dumped them for salary relief. And I've heard from one person that's kind of doing some research that they're wondering if it's possible the Angels did not even reset their luxury tax threshold because Randall Grichuk did clear waivers, and so did not get claimed. So his money still remains on that payroll for that purpose. I've asked a couple of different sources, and it doesn't know for sure, but still interesting to think, and really just, again, shameful business by the Angels, and the Guardians benefited from it. What can you do? Guardians benefited from it, and if it hadn't been the Guardians, it probably would have been the Reds, Diamondbacks, or Marlins. There's still 3 guys the Twins would have liked to have gotten. Maybe instead they land Bader because the Reds claim someone else. I don't know that the Twins claim Bader. I can't claim that. But, with that said, if you change the waiver rules a little bit, I think the Twins land somebody, but it's probably not anybody that people are jumping up and down about. Although, Bader would have been a good fit. Or a guy who hits lefties with center field capabilities defensively is, something that you should look into. All right. So, again, like I said, we needed some time to process this Guardians series. And, I think I'm kind of there now. It's frustrating the close ones that slip away late, especially giving up 5 runs in the last 3 innings of the game on Wednesday. Sonny Gray moving quickly through 7 innings. 7th inning, there was some turbulence. He almost hit a guy. He did not have he did not cover himself in glory in the 7th inning. And the trouble is, people say, well, why don't you send him back out? He had 2 very wild pitches that inning. If you send him back out and he gives up runs, you say, well, your bullpen was rested. Technically true, because Jack, Thielbar, Duran, Pagan, the top 4 guys in the hierarchy, all worked in the game. Okay. So Sonny gets lifted to give the game to those guys, and Sonny's out at 81 pitches, which, again, people will use that pitch count regardless of if it's a good or bad point. In this case, it's not horrible. Griffin Jacks has, his typical hard luck inning of late. He and Thielbar work an inning combined, the 8th inning, to at that point, Twins lead is cut in half, 2-1. And then in the 9th, Emilio Pagan, the 9th, Juan Duran has the Guardians down to their last strike, throws a wild pitch behind Bo Naylor. The tying run comes in. There was some controversy not in the game, but on Twitter about if the batter swung. But if you look closely, the ball is past him before he swings. Even if you want to call it a strikeout, he reaches first on the drop third strike. The run scores, and we still head to the 10th as they did. The big issue here is Emilio Pagan throws 7 pitches, 4 strikes, and he is lifted with 2 outs in the 10th for Cody Funderburk. Now, they're in a situation where you got runners on, I believe it was 2nd and 3rd, and Calhoun up. Funderburk, who had just had a great start to his big league career in his debut in the first game. That's a big spot. He falls behind 3-0, and then Calhoun absolutely murders a baseball into right center. Just a game that had that weird, almost like a getaway day afternoon game that it felt like it was going to end like 2-0 with a couple of scratch hits scoring runs, and just, the kind of game you fall asleep to in the 3rd or 4th inning and you wake up and it's over and you're like, wow, nothing happened. I literally missed nothing. And that was the case until Emilio Pagan got lifted for some reason. Again, I just don't understand why they've shown this much faith in Pagan, especially against the Guardians, but that's not really the point here. But in these kinds of spots, only to lift him for a rookie making his 2nd big league appearance. Again, left on left makes sense. Calhoun's an older guy who is going to be better against righties. But at the same time, it feels weird to say I trust Emilio Pagan at this point. I'm kind of at a point now where I get it, and I kind of can live with it. But I'm not making that Funderburk move. Just absolutely not. So that's where I kind of stood on that. That was what was frustrating about dropping that one. Because again, if you take 2 of 3, maybe that reshapes how waivers goes, and maybe that reshapes how the rest of the season goes. Don't mistake that for bitterness, but everybody played by the rules. It just made it maybe more evident that those rules need to be tweaked. So we'll see what happens there. So Twins in game 1 get a Royce Lewis grand slam, second in as many days, come back down 4-0 to win 10-6. And they'd been down 5-0 to the Rangers the day before, and Royce Lewis hit a grand slam. And then he had a chance to hit a grand slam in, I believe, the first inning against Gavin Williams of game 2, and did not, or we'd still be talking about it. But so Twins win the opener. Cody Funderburk comes in with 3 strikeouts in his first 2 innings, barely breaks a sweat, looking like Josh Hader, Diet Haterade, whatever you want to call it, looking like Josh Hader, but about 5 miles off his fastball. Still reasonable velocity from a lefty, but Funderburk absolutely phenomenal. Twins win that one. Got to be feeling good about the series at this point. And then Gavin Williams kind of has an awkward moment trying to field a ball in the first inning, doesn't come back out for the second, but Twins just no answer for this kind of smattering. Now, and also too, keep this in mind, Xavier Curry only gave the Guardians 2 innings of work the night before. So the bullpen is in shambles because Daniel Norris comes in, gives him only 2 innings, gets hit hard, gives up a couple homers. And so they go Eli Morgan, Eniel De Los Santos, and then James Karinchak. So some of their better relievers, and Twins just take care of business with Norris and don't need to do anything the rest of the way. Now, with that said, then Williams only goes 1 inning, leaving the Twins in a really good spot against Hunter Gaddis, Sam Hentges, former Minnesota resident. And then, just kind of go on from there. The Twins just can't solve any of those guys. They get a run on a homer off Gaddis from Royce Lewis, again, doing his thing. But, it basically turned into a bullpen game against the Twins that wasn't prepared for, wasn't, something you could be ready for. But, hats off to Gaddis and Hentges combining for 108 pitches and keeping the Twins at bay. Well, Pablo Lopez kind of had that typical non-perfect Pablo outing where it's a quality start. It's kind of like a minimalist quality start. And then, the Twins just kind of, I don't know, just don't have it there at the end. Then a chance against Class A at the end. I think they got the tying run to the plate, but couldn't do anything more than that. So frustrating second game. Third game, even more frustrating. Again, and I'm not going to rehash it because we talked about it quite a bit, but a Cole Calhoun homer as the crushing blow. Obviously, a real hard sell. This is a team right now, the Guardians, who are hitting Calhoun third. He's 35 years old and has not been a good big leaguer for a while. He's having a nice stretch right now. And then Ramon Laureano, who they picked up off waivers, is hitting cleanup. This is not a team the Twins should have to worry about losing to down the stretch. Now, they didn't address their hitting. Their pitching has been good this year. And you can always use more pitching. There's no question about that. But did the Guardians need more pitching? Does more pitching give them enough of a lift when their offense has been this bad? I guess is a better question, better way to put it. We'll have to wait and see. These guys killed the Twins in the series. Steven Kwan, 6 hits, hit 429. Gabriel Arias had 4 hits, hit 364. Bo Naylor with homers in the first 2 games. And then, of course, that Calhoun homer, just brutal. Duran with another meltdown. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how he's handled down the stretch. We'll run over to our friends at Tankathon. We got to talk about the fact that the Guardians have the 13th toughest schedule the rest of the way. The Twins have the 27th. So this is what they deem as their toughest opponents Twins have 3 against the Rays, 3 against the Rangers starting Friday, and then 3 against the Reds. And in fact, the Twins' 3 against the Guardians are considered part of their easiest opponents. For the Guardians, they have 4 with the Orioles, 3 with the Rays starting today, 3 with the Rangers, 3 with the Giants, 3 with the Twins, and then 2 more with their in-state rivals, the Reds. So that's a remaining winning percentage strength of schedule at 511 for the Guardians, 459 for the Twins. May or may not matter. It's just a data point at this juncture, much as the same as like the Twins being 90% to make the playoffs. Well, if they don't make it, fans say, well, what happened? Well, the other 10%. That's what happened. All right. We are back for the 7th inning stretch. Twins Rangers at Globe Life Field, Friday, 7:05 p.m. first pitch. It's Joe Ryan. It's Max Scherzer. A couple of righties going at it. You can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Twins. The Guardians, as noted, have the Rays for 3, and then the Twins head to the Cleve. So we will see what that all looks like here, because if things happen the way you'd want as a Twins fan, those Cleveland games may not be that meaningful, but also there's also the potential that it's the exact opposite. Since the Twins last saw the Rangers, they took the Rangers took 2 of 3 against a skittering Mets team in Queens. Twins have the Mets coming up here at home after the Guardian series. The Rangers were excessively streaky in August, and we talked about this a little bit before, but both they and the Twins were 15-12 in August, but the Rangers won 8 straight to start the month and then lost 8 straight later in the month, including the first 2 that they lost to the Twins in the series last weekend. So it's a Rangers team that is obviously fighting for what's going to happen in the playoffs. They come into the series with, how do I want to put this? I would say they have still a respectable, okay chance just because they're a game out. But Fangraphs is not really bullish on them. They're at 15.0% to win the division, but 70.3% to make the playoffs. They really like the Astros, 52.8% to win the division, and the Mariners at 32.1%. They're both they're virtually tied as far as first place, with the Rangers a game back. So we'll see how that goes, but I still think the Rangers obviously fighting and clawing for their life. They've had some interesting stretches here, just absolutely crazy ebbs and flows where you feel the season's over and then you feel you can't be stopped, and those can be pretty bad for your blood pressure at this time of year. But let's talk about the Rangers in August. Corey Seager, absolutely incredible. 10 home runs, OPS over 1,100. Mitch Garver, OPS over 1,000. Good offensive showing for the Rangers. Max Scherzer picked up 3 wins with a 2.64 ERA in 30 innings. Really taking to Texas, as you would hope if you were Texas. He looks like vintage Scherzer, which is a bad thing for the Twins on Friday, obviously. The rest of the month, John Gray was fairly solid, 4.30 ERA with a .116 WHIP. And the other guy the Twins will face is Jordan Montgomery. Again, it's the whole lefty situation. Montgomery with a 2.30 ERA in August. So it's going to be a challenge this series. Twins have seen these guys, not Gray, but the other 2 recently. So it's hard to say who gets the upper hand. I tend to think offense, but pitching is hitting is such a difficult aspect where failure is part of it, that I think the pitcher still has the upper hand, even though they're seeing them for the second straight time. And if there was a pitcher I would not feel good about facing twice in a row as far as getting into a groove against them, I don't think I feel like I could solve Max Scherzer in a second straight start. So the Twins are really going to be up against it. Twins coming out of August, things different in the second half offensively. They've been better. 786 OPS as a team. Max Kepler just going nuts, 1,008 OPS. Michael A. Taylor with a 902. Royce Lewis with a 955. Jorge Polanco, 887. They have 7 guys with an 800 or better, and then the rest of the guys are 700 or worse with the exception of Joey Gallo. So guys like Correa, Julien, Farmer, Luplo, Castro. Castro's due back here anytime soon, or rather soon too. So we can get prepared for him again, the Willie Castro experience. And then Christian Vasquez, just absolutely dreadful, hitting 204 with a 500 OPS. So offense in general good. Pitching staff with a 4.19 ERA. 4 wins for Pablo in the month with a 2.25 ERA. 2.04 for Sonny. But yeah, like Bailey Ober, 5.63. Kenta Maeda, 5.04. Griffin Jacks allows 10 earned in 10 innings in the month. Juan Duran has a 2.84 ERA, but way too many base runners and home runs. Those are your 2 big guys. You have to be able to rely on them. Dylan Floro, dreadful. Joe Ryan, not particularly good in his 2 starts. Time for retribution on Friday, but we'll see if he has that in him. In general, though, just a very ordinary month for the Twins. But if they can win about at that pace, 15-12. So with 28 left, you want to say 15-13. I won't fight you. That would mean that, in theory, the Guardians, I almost said White Sox, the Guardians would have to win like 20 of their last 28 or 29 games, which is going to be a tall task. It's going to be a tough ask. And I don't know if they're capable of it, but, I guess we'll find out. As far as rankings this month, Rangers starters had the lowest ERA in MLB at 3.15. Twins were 6th at 3.80. So I think what's going to be important, as we spoke with Bryce Paterick, the Locked On Rangers host, earlier in the week, is to get to this Rangers bullpen. Now you're going to have to work counts. You're going to have to do, get to this bullpen, which Bryce hates. Other bullpen had a 4.13 ERA in August, so maybe not quite as bad as he said. But if the Twins are going to do damage in this series, I feel fairly confident it's going to be against the bullpen. So make sure to hang out, come back. We'll have a post-game wrap of this one, a quick Locked On Twins minute, and we'll talk to you over the weekend and hopefully come out of the other end facing Cleveland with not that much to play for because the Twins are running away with it. But for now, that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you follow me at Brandon_Warren at Locked On Twins. And again, thank you for making us your first listen every day. Subscribe, like, give us a 5-star rating or review on whatever platform you're listening to. Hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and all that fun stuff. This is Brandon Warren signing off and saying thank you so much. And don't forget to stop by on